Hey, Queen. I'm Vieira Miles, and this is the Holistic Sister Circle podcast, a show where we hear the stories of soulful women all over the world dedicated to sharing insight into why holistic health is the future and what women should do today to ensure they have the necessary tools and resources to bring out their inner royal roots, assess their body, and remedy any illness from the comfort of their home. Y'all, we are setting the royal record straight, okay? If you'd like to connect with us further, you can follow us at The Holistic Sister Circle on Instagram and join the Holistic Sister Circle Facebook group for live interviews, collaborative Q&A, and exclusive training on how to build your wellness dream team. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. See you on the other side. Welcome back to another episode of the Holistic Sister Circle. I'm your host, Vieira, and today we're talking about something that so many of us are feeling right now. And y'all, that is the pull to grow, to evolve, to reconnect with who we really are without losing ourselves in the process. And I couldn't think of a better person to walk us through this than Hana, a soul coach and clairvoyant who helps women cut through the noise, get clear on their purpose, and start living from a place of deep inner truth. In this episode, we're breaking down a few headlines that are stirring up conversations about spirituality, identity, and culture. And we're asking the deeper questions most people aren't. What's really going on beneath the surface? What does this mean for us as women? And how do we keep growing without abandoning ourselves along the way? So, if you've been navigating big shifts, spirituality, emotional, or even your relationships, this one's going to speak straight to your soul. Hana, I'm so excited to have you here. And without further ado, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself that's not the fancy titles, but how you actually got started on this journey?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Vera. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Um, so my name is Hana Esselink. I'm living in London and I was brought up in London. So I've traveled a lot, but this is where I'm based. And so I am a spiritual soul coach. I have a background in communications for many, many years. So I've worked in public relations and corporate and other stuff. But I guess the main thing about being a spiritual coach is that there's a real need for it, right? There's a real cry for people, and there's a hunger for a lot of people who are coming to me now, especially I've discovered since COVID and during that time, but also before, who want to find out a lot more about who they are beyond the five physical senses that we all have and know they're curious and they know there's a lot more that they want to connect with, basically. And spirituality is that, right? It's actually self connection. It's self connection on a deeper level than what we see and what we think we know, but we're maybe too scared to admit it to ourselves. And it's also a self awareness. So I combine both of those to make spirituality very practical for people in their day to day lives and structures, whether they are, a busy mom with, I've got a couple of clients like that who have two kids, or I also have, for example, an older lady who's lost her husband and she's been grieving him. And she's been with me for 4 years. So it takes all different types of people who are now kind of awakening. I don't want to keep using that phrase because everybody uses that, but it is that really. It's kind of like a yearning, I guess, a nostalgia to find out more about how they really feel and what is that they're feeling, you know.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I love that you said too is just the different types of clients that you work with. And I think it's important for our ladies to know this too. It doesn't matter whether you're a mom or not, you are still called for something great and you're still called to be more. And, I'm sure Hannah has felt it, I felt it, probably you have felt it as well, where maybe you have a pull, like this yearning to do something and you just don't know who it is, what's happening, and what your next steps are. And Hannah, I would love for you to just share with us from a practicality standpoint when it comes to even business or just knowing where to go or who to turn to, whether it's a health concern or maybe a business endeavor that you want to tap into. What does it actually look like to make spirituality practical? And how can we make sure that we are following our intuition in this process, and actually really listening to it, like really listening to our spirits to help guide us on this journey?
That's a process, and it's 100% the thing that most people come to me for. It's if they have something like anxiety, for example. I mean, I'll start with my own story because I didn't go into the full picture in a minute, so I'll just go back to that. Is I had quite a traumatic childhood. We had it was hard. It was very hard. And growing up with, rather than going into all the details of that, I think a lot of people have that, but they don't realize how to come out of that. They don't realize that if we don't heal those things stage by stage, we stay stuck. And a lot of people are actually also, yeah, they're in denial. They're in denial about the fact that they're in denial. And there's then cultural restraints, and then there's, societal restraints and expectations. And we all wear a lot of masks. And I did when I was growing up. I wore a lot of masks because I thought I was pleasing people. But I realized I was only hurting myself and being unkind to myself. And that, you have a mini breakdown or kind of like a burnt out sensation that you just cannot cope anymore because you're not being true to yourself. And your inner self knows when you are lying, I guess, to yourself. That's kind of sounds a bit harsh because not a lot of people do that deliberately. But you kind of have to tap into who you really are in the sense that what I take people through on my journey by making things practical for people is not just things like journaling and gratitude. That's what everybody does. And I think that's really important to do that. But if you don't know why you're doing that, or if you're just doing it because I've asked you to do it, we're not going to the core of who you really are, right? Why you operate, why you do things the way you do, what are your beliefs and programmings. And spirituality can actually cut through all of that. Deep spirituality, deep knowing. Your soul knows the way, actually. And the way to get to your soul is often through guided meditation, which is one of the tools I do. I write my meditations myself and I guide people through certain things that we go through. I guide them through nature, to the beach, and I will make them write things that they then need to throw away. And, there's a beautiful one called the Rainbow Bridge, which my client Karen, that's the older lady, she won't mind me using her name. I've already cleared it with her. Um, that's my PR head, right? But she is brilliant at sort of going to the Rainbow Bridge because when I take them in my meditation to the Rainbow Bridge, there they will meet a guide, an angel, or someone who has passed over. And everybody always has that experience. Some people haven't in the beginning because they're not used to maybe using their third eye. So then that means we have to learn how to declutter your third eye. How do we do that? How do we make that practical without making it sound way out there? We have to do something to a practical exercise with them that will make it easy for them to connect with the other side. Because I'll tell you what, Via, we all have our ancestors waiting for us. They are there. They are there to help us and guide us. Some people know this. Karen knows that she's seen her husband in her dreams many, many times. He comes to her, he tries to help her because, as a result of her grief from losing him, she wasn't able to walk. She had problems with her legs, and she's still having problems with her legs. She has to have an operation on one of her feet. It literally just froze her. The whole emotional impact of it just froze her. And she had a lot of one challenge after the other. But she's coming out of it now, thank God. She's getting the doctor's help in the areas that she needs to. But it's making it practical and it's tailor made because everybody needs everything different. And that depends on what background you're coming from, what your own faith or belief is, whether you don't really have a faith or belief or you're just kind of investigating it. And I think people know their intuition. They already have a great sense of intuition. So we kind of connect that with the God energy and we use that um, to find them where they need to go. And there's a lady recently, for example, who came to me yesterday for a reading. Lovely lady. She's a piano teacher. And she's been finding her way. And she went to Italy recently to do some work there. And she found a little church with Mother Mary. And it was only her in the church. And it was a beautiful little church near the beach somewhere in Italy. And she went there and she was able to pray and to use prayer as her tool. It worked for her, you know. And actually, I think prayer is very badly misunderstood as well. It's always like, oh my goodness, if I pray, I'm religious. And I think people should stop being afraid of that and use that. It's a very powerful tool to transform your life. The only thing is that it does not happen straight away sometimes with that. Sometimes it does, but a lot of the time it's a little seed that you're putting in the ground. And before you know it, you look, and every day you're looking and there's nothing. And then suddenly there's a seedling, right? Or there's a strong bamboo that comes, or a little tree is emerging, or whatever it is. And it's me guiding them along that journey to be the leaders and warriors that they are inside themselves, because many of us are, but we've forgotten, or we need a guiding hand. That's how I guide them individually with whatever tools I feel they need. We talk about it, we work through it, and we switch it around, and then it's a journey for them to be on forever, not just while they're with me, you know.
Absolutely. And I thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad to hear that your client is like now doing better. I'm so sorry for her loss with her husband. One of the things that you mentioned was a third eye, and some people may not necessarily know what that is. So could you just clarify on what is a third eye and why is that important for your spirituality journey and using it as your guide?
Yeah, of course. The third eye is one of the seven main, what we called chakra energies in Sanskrit. That's the word, and it's basically like an energetic wheel in the body. It's probably related to the glands in the body. The pineal gland is what I would say the third eye is related to, and it is between the brows, so it would be here. That's why you see some of the Hindu ladies and the gentlemen they have the mark here. It's like the third eye, symbolic of that, and far more. It is what I would call, I guess, the psychic gateway, because somebody who is psychic or an empath who is quite aware, they may feel sometimes like they're even being attacked, and they might suddenly start seeing lots of images, or this is when it kind of goes out of control. It's a chakra point and a very powerful one. And the way I activate it in meditations is I can imagine people to either see like a crystal here or a diamond, and we turn it. We start to turn it. We activate it, and we do the meditation, and people start to see the lights, and they can see things through here. It is the most powerful point of the body, and one of the most. And I would definitely say that it is a very special point to get to know your inner self and your spiritual journey very well. So we break that down in terms of what does it mean to do third eye meditation, for example. There's a couple of ladies I've done this with, they can't see anything. And I know then that it's completely blocked. And how do I work with them to release that? Is gradually, it's with things like music. You can add music into a meditation, which really helps people to relax. There's certain techniques you can use to take them deeper into their subconscious mind. And then they use that as a tool to try to visualize. Some people even have problems visualizing there. But third eye is key because it strips away truth and illusion. You might have thought that somebody was your best buddy, right? Yeah, we all have that. We think we have great friends, and sometimes we realize that they're not our friends, they're even our enemies, or they are people who we thought were really good for us, but they end up being the opposite. And we haven't seen them clearly for whatever reason. Maybe we were busy, or we didn't tune into our inner self, or whatever. And so I do a whole talk on that. It's called The Thief in the Night. And it is about people who can steal your dream away from you. Um, I want to talk a little bit about a motivational speaker called Bronnie Ware, who used to be a palliative nurse in Australia. I don't know if you know about her, but she was amazing. And she wrote the top five regrets of the dying many years ago. And I think the number one regret was, I wrote it down, but I believe it was something like, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not what others expect of me. And I think that is the key, because a lot of us are doing that without realizing that, due to societal pressures, maybe our spouse pressures, maybe family pressures or cultural pressures. But the reason why we came on earth was not actually to do a 9 to 5 all the time. We may have a mission to help, I don't know, cats, for example, or help people in a hospice, or whatever it is. To be of service is nearly always something that the third eye will strip away from you, the illusion of what it is that you're living, once you get to the heart of that. And sometimes it can take ages with some people because they're just not used to thinking that way, or they're not used to operating from a deeper sense of self. So we have to work with that to break down that kind of concrete wall of belief or programming to get to the soul, to the heart, essentially.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing because For me, I do believe that's so important. It reminds me of my own journey and just knowing that during that period of time, I didn't know how to communicate. I mean, my body was talking, but I didn't know how to put it into words or have us sit and just listen and know what to do next. And it wasn't until I really started tapping into it and really allowing it to guide me, whether it was through, like you were saying, a lot for me was prayer. Prayer is works really well for me, and I can just pray just in
Definitely.
an instant. And I don't know if this is if
Yeah.
you've had this happen in your spiritual work as well, but and I'm going to share this. I don't actually ever share this in any episode.
Oh, okay.
But one of the things I wanted to share that just reminded me of this is you don't know, everyone's spiritual journey is very different. I will say that. And I remember years ago, this was about 3 years ago, I was having a traumatic experience, letting go of the expectation of who my mom should be as an adult. I felt like she was a great mother when I was a child, but when I became an adult, it was very difficult for us to connect. And that took a toll on me because this person was like my best friend. We did everything together. And then as soon as I became an adult, I started to have my own relationship, obviously with a man. It became different and we became different. And that took a toll on me. And one of the things that
Yeah.
I started doing was I would be in these dark rooms and I would have like random panic attacks. And I wasn't honestly sure how to catch my breath. And I remember, you know, at one point in time, I was listening to a sermon and the pastor was talking about how one of the ways that he taps into his spirituality or really has an opportunity to listen to God is through a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. And he would literally sit down and ask God, like, what do you need from me today? Or where can I go on this journey? Or what does this God, like, where are you guiding me to right now? So I said, okay, let me just try it and just see what happens. And as soon as I did that, my hand started shaking. And it was literally shaking as I'm writing, and I'm writing not in my own words, not with my own handwriting. And it
Wow.
scared me.
That is scary.
It
That's
scared
very
me.
scary.
And I was like, what? And I didn't go back to it because I was like, I don't know what this is. This is scary. And I didn't lean into it. And it wasn't until, obviously practice and consistency and allowing that to really know that is where it started. And that's how I was essentially able to come into grips or come into peace with knowing that it's not just me and I do have a soul and my soul is speaking to me if I just take the time to listen
It.
and not be
That's it.
afraid. And I share that
Absolutely.
because obviously, again, everyone has their own experience, and this is just mine. This is one of many. I've had moments too where I've prayed even with my partner. I've prayed with him, and there have been opportunities where it becomes not me anymore. It becomes a spirit, a guide, wanting to talk to him. And then I kind of just like to almost as if like almost, I'm not saying like I'm a dead body, but I just kind of like I lose myself for a moment. Someone enters
Beautiful.
and has that conversation, and then I come back, right? Um,
Yes.
and over the
Almost like
years,
channeling something. Yes. Yeah.
yes, I've had to like practice these things. Again, when I first started, I was spooked. But now that I started channeling it and really tapping into it, it's just become a beautiful experience. And I share that because, again, everyone's situation is different. But I would just love to know from your perspective, have you had any experiences like that or your clients have? And if so, like, what are some other ways that people may experience this form of spirituality and not necessarily, and be okay with confronting it and not running from it?
Well, wow, Flair. First of all, thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredible. And it's powerful to know that you were so vulnerable. And this is precisely what I mean, that a lot of us have relationships with close people, family, friends that are actually toxic. I mean, I also had to, unfortunately, cut off someone in my family recently due to certain things that were really getting to me, and it was too much. And I think that in relation to having these experiences, channeling, yes, you can definitely get to a point now, like with Karen again, I'm going to use her as an example. Let me just use her example again. A few months ago, she had an experience of something very evil, I'm going to say, coming to her. And she said that it lasted 2 weeks. She's a very spiritual lady, very aware. And she said that whatever it was making her have dreams of her husband, even though he's passed over, of him having an affair with other women. And also the strange thing was her daughter, who's got a little kid, was also having dreams of her father being nasty, a bad dad. So they were both getting these weird dreams from some energy or something. And so she said she felt so low, but she couldn't even phone me. She said this thing was telling her not to phone me, not to contact me, but something told me to contact her. So I contacted her and I was like, Karen, is everything okay? And she said, no, not really. I've been having these scary experiences. Only just gone yesterday because I swore at it, and it finally went. And I said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, that was some kind of a demonic attack or something you're having there." And she said, "But I still channeled Mother Mary because she was very closely with Mother Mary, and Mother Mary is a very powerful guide against evil, definitely, 100%. And for some reason, she was guided to talk to me. I gave her a long prayer to do that helped her to deal with that situation. It never came back, whatever it was. It lasted 2 weeks. It made her crippled in bed. She couldn't even move out of bed. Lots of stuff happened. And then it went. So a lot of people are, my point in saying this, you can channel good things and bad things. Whatever happened to make her that come through to her lasted a long time and it was terrifying, she said. Um, with the good side of it, she'd already built up enough kind of resilience and she was praying to Jesus, to Mary. That was her thing. And Mary, she said, was with her the whole time. She could feel, even through the darkness, she could feel Mary was there. So I want to say to you guys, not this isn't to scare anyone, but the darkness can be just as powerful as the light in some ways. But you have to keep your prayer consistent to overcome it. And I think prayer is one of the most valuable tools to make us true to ourselves, actually. It really strips you of all illusion. It will help you as well to grow in your faith, whatever your faith is, whether you're a Christian or whether you're even a non-believer, but you're genuinely asking the call of the heart. That prayer is very powerful to connect with the divine, to connect with your guides. And, I want to tell you a really great story. My husband and I went to Birmingham this last week, and this lady will also not mind me mentioning her because she said I could. Her name is Margaret. She's an amazing, amazing medium, and she's a lovely lady. We went to talk to her, went to her house, and the next day when we left, she said the following day, my nan, who's passed over, turned up to her. My nan is my greatest supporter in the spirit world. She turned up to her and she said she went outside. She has a tree in her garden, and she thought it was a white bag out there. And she went over and she was like, "What is this white bag? Has my husband left the white bag outside?" She went over to it, and it was my grandmother sitting there with her legs crossed. And she's never seen my grandmother. But she said behind her was my mother, who has also passed away, and her hand was on her shoulder. And she said, they're saying, "Hannah, Hannah, we're here for Hannah." And they were talking. And she said, honestly, she said, I had the fright of my life. They were as clear as you are to me. As I'm looking at you, she said they were that clear. And they were just talking. And I knew it was my nan. Do you know how I knew, Via? This is really hilarious. Because when my nan was alive, she used to have dentures. And when we were little, we saw her once and her dentures, she was joking with us and she pushed her dentures out and they sort of came flying out. And we were like, whoa, we were little kids, me and my sister and stuff. And my nan said to Margaret, and Margaret told me, she said, "I've got teeth now." And I was like, whoa, okay, that's my nan. I know that's my nan. So it's the there are people who can genuinely channel people who have passed over, who are good. She's a Christian lady, Margaret, who are really good at doing this. We can do it ourselves. My only thing is be sure that you are channeling something good. It's sometimes deceptive and there are deceptive energies that can come through and we don't always recognize them. I had another client who's had a dream, a young lady, and she was like, "Oh, it was Archangel Michael, this, that, and the other." And then she said towards the end of the dream, the Archangel Michael changed and he looked something completely ugly and awful. I said, "That wasn't Archangel Michael. I don't know what that was." So it's not to be afraid to have these experiences. We can have them, but it's to know who to call on if you are having them, and also to be mindful. And that's where your third eye meditation and your third eye activation and your third eye, um, really working with your third eye can be a powerful exercise in revealing the truth about situations, about people, about maybe you're going to go for a job, but you suddenly get a sinking feeling or something keeps coming to you that job isn't right for you, that maybe too many people have been made redundant. Then you know that isn't the right job and there'll be another one coming. It's also having that faith and balance to know it's all about balance and alignment. There's going to be something else. I will be shown, and continuing on your journey, you know. So I give all the tools of that to my people. And at the moment, we're developing a course for making spirituality practical as well, which would be amazing.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Hannah. Before we wrap up, I would love for you to just share for those who would love to learn more about your work. You know, what does that process look like? How can they connect with you further?
Yeah, so people would love to connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. And I have a website called yourinnerlight.co.uk. I am on Facebook and on Instagram as well, just as my name, Hana Esselink. You can find me, you can DM me. The course will be coming along very soon. At the moment, people can book in for readings and for mentoring sessions, which are a bit longer. The soul mentoring sessions, they are about 90 minutes to 2 hours. So that's how they can contact me. And you can email me as well, which is Hannah, Hana, at inspiringmypath.com. Would love to hear from you guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And last but not least, if we were to take one piece of advice away from today, what are some steps that people can take right now if they wanted to tap into, again, from a spirituality, making it practical, using this as a tool for growth and not running away from it? What would be that one piece of advice you would give them?
I think the one piece of advice is not to be afraid. We're so afraid about what people think. And I would say to you, don't be afraid to actually take that first step, whether it's contacting someone like myself for support, whether it's doing a bit of prayer or meditation. It's not cheesy, it's not silly. It is what is needed. Your soul knows what is needed. Listen to your soul.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful that we had an opportunity to connect with you. Until
Lovely to
next
talk
time,
to you, Vera. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.